WikiTraccs is able to migrate the creator and the editor of Confluence pages to SharePoint so that the migrated SharePoint pages carry the same creator and editor user information. And how that works, I'll be showing today. So the plan is I will migrate some pages, then we look at the result. There will be some auto mapping going on and some not. We will look at the pages to find out which pages are done and which not. Then we'll adjust the user mapping, run an update run that is able to update the creator and editor information on the SharePoint side. We'll again look at the result, and then we'll quickly look at some bulk update options for users and user groups. So first, let's have a quick look at this Confluence. It's a local Confluence server, version 6, very old. And there's this space migration. And the space migration contains 3 pages, the home page, and 1 color page Adele, color page Megan. And let's have a quick look before migrating those at the user information. This color page Adele was created by the Adele user account that has an email address set. And then there's this automation system user, and this edited the page. So it was some kind of automated script or job running, modifying the page, and this system user does not have an email address set, and this will play a role later on. Then let's have a quick look at color page Megan. So Megan created this page and Adele was the user modifying the page. Let's quickly look at Megan again. Megan has a Gmail address set. Now, quickly switch to WikiTraccs. I will not explain how to get started with WikiTraccs. There is a tutorial video out there that explains in detail how to get started. Please look at that if you want to get started. And this is here already pre-configured local Confluence for SharePoint. I use certificate authentication, so I don't have to log in. And then there are 2 sites involved. I already pre-created the site. So it's a WikiTraccs site, which is for the migration tool. And then there is 1 target site where the pages will be created. And just hit the start button to get started. So WikiTraccs is now checking connections, logging in, doing stuff to get those pages over to SharePoint. And let's quickly look at our SharePoint sites. So we have 1 target site. It's this one. Currently, when looking at the pages, there's only the default homepage set. So I expect those to grow later. And then we have the WikiTraccs site. Let's look at that. This is managed by WikiTraccs, and there's 1 list. It's the Confluence user and group mapping list that is of interest for us. And we already see accounts coming in. So initially this one is empty. And while migrating, let's refresh this. While migrating, WikiTraccs discovers users in Confluence, and discovering means while migrating pages, it reads metadata about those pages, and this contains who created the page, who edited the page. Also, add mentions on pages contribute to this, and every time it finds a new user account, it adds it to this list. So in our case, it's 3 accounts. Let's also look again at the blue window here. Okay, migration is done. 3 pages should be there. Let's look at the target site. Okay, 3 pages are here. Let's switch. So I recommend switching to the recent pages WikiTraccs view. It shows a little bit more metadata about migrated pages. And I switch back to the Confluence user and group mapping list. So we have the Adele account here. Megan Bowen is also there, the system user. And in the email address field, you see Adele has this one. Megan has the Gmail address. the system user has none set, and everything here, the email address, the key, internal name, display name, this is coming from Confluence. But here on the right side, you see map for data and mentions, and this is important for WikiTraccs when it wants to set the author and the editor of the SharePoint pages, because it needs now an Entra ID account to do that. So an Entra ID, there have to be accounts for Adele, for Megan, well, maybe also for the system user, and WikiTraccs tries to automap. So it takes this email address coming from Confluence and tries to find a user that it can add in SharePoint that has the same email address. And for Adele, this was successful. So this is a people field here. It found the Adele account, but for Megan, who uses a Gmail account, this was not successful. And also for the automation account, there is no mapping because there's no email address to use for the lookup. And now we'll look at the migrated pages. I switch to the target side, and I focus on this color page Adele, color page Megan. So the Adele page was, let's have a look at Confluence again. Adele page was created by Adele and modified by some system user. Let's go back here, scroll to the right, and we see this created by and modified by information. And now to not confuse us here, so color page Adele is this one. Let's highlight this. This created by and modified by, this is something that SharePoint has out of the box. So every page has that, and it's also managed by SharePoint normally. So when you edit a page, SharePoint updates the modified by indicator. If you create a new page, you are the account in the created by column here. And you see for our Adele page, WikiTraccs correctly set Adele as creator, but for modified by, it said SharePoint app. And this is the migration account. And this is also the expected result. So this is basically the default that is always set when there is no mapping available. So SharePoint app is always set when using certificate authentication for the SharePoint site, which I'm doing here. You get that here. And we will correct that later on, because this, we want to map this in Confluence, this system user here, we want to map that to some admin user account on the SharePoint site. And let's do that later. Now for the Megan page, color page Megan, highlight that. It was created by Megan, but we also get SharePoint app here. So this is the migration account, basically for the SharePoint site. And the reason for that is also that when looking at the mapping table for Megan, here is an empty spot. So there is was no auto mapping happening to an Entra ID account. And we will set those two in a minute. So, but the modification date, so for the color page Megan, it was modified by Adele on the Confluence side. There's a mapping in the mapping table available, so this was set to Adele. And this is how the whole system works. So you migrate pages, the mapping list keeps growing, accounts will be added by WikiTraccs. Some auto mapping is happening and some not. And then when WikiTraccs needs to set author and editor information on the SharePoint site, it will look at this column here, map for data and mentions, and then tries to find the SharePoint equivalent. But now we migrated, and now we will do, or let's quickly look at our to-do list here. Okay, so WikiTraccs changed the homepage to the homepage of the Confluence space. Fair enough. Let's go to our old topic home. Look at the result, including done indicator. So what is the done indicator? Going back here, it might not be visible by default, this column, so you might have to add it using the add column and show or hide columns function here. So this check principal mapping is a flag for WikiTraccs that remembers if there is something to be done. And here, WikiTraccs did not find a mapping. Also here, WikiTraccs did not find a mapping. So for this page here, this was the space home page, space migration home. This was created and modified only by Adele. So the mapping was set when migrating the page. Nothing is to be done anymore. So there's no tick set here. And when running the update run to update this created by and modified by fields, WikiTraccs will only look at those that have a tick set here. If you want to force an update, for example, after changing some mappings, you can set this tick mark manually. But yeah, so and every time a page is finished, and WikiTraccs could set both created by and modified by, this tick will go away. So you kind of can use an iterative approach, and add mappings, run an update run, add mappings again, run another update run, and those will disappear over time. Now, let's see, let's modify our mapping. So go back to the mapping list here, editing grid view, and use, I know we have a Megan account. See SharePoint. So sometimes SharePoint is weird when editing. Yes, it's working quite nicely here. Let's quickly refresh the page. Oh, come on. So I did grid view, Megan. Here we are, Megan. So this is the Enter ID account, and for the automation account, I want to just use like some system account on the SharePoint side. Okay, so this is our updated mapping. Now, quickly look at our plan again. Done indicator, auto mapping, adjust the mapping. Let's do the update run. So going back to WikiTraccs. You now go to Settings, Configure Transformation, and choose Update Created by and Modified by of already migrated content. Click OK. Everything else stays, and then just start the transformation again. And what WikiTraccs does now it looks at SharePoint pages that have been migrated, then looks at let's close that here. Close that. Target site. Pages. Special view. So it now looks only for pages that have this check set here. And then looks at the mappings and updates the modified by and created by information. Okay, you see it only handles 2 pages. That's correct. And well, that's it. And now going back to SharePoint. So this is the old state. And when refreshing, I expect for this first one here, all of that, Megan's page, Megan to appear here. And here, this should be our WikiTraccs system account. So let's refresh. And here we are. So this is now correctly set to Megan, modified by Adele. This was the Adele page created by Adele, modified by some system account. And now when looking here at check principal mapping, the ticks are gone. And that's it for the update run. Yeah. So if everything goes as planned, this is how it should look. There are certain things that could go wrong, but I won't go into those details now. This was the happy path. Now, sometimes I get the question whether it is possible to, when looking at the mapping list, to pre-fill this mapping list, because normally it just keeps growing while migrating, but sometimes people want to prepare a mapping to, for example, do what I just did now before starting the migration. And there is a utility function in WikiTraccs. If you go to Tools, Sync and Update User List. Okay, content migration mode has to be switched on. Content migration. And this also does some thinking. So the user list is stored in SharePoint. It's also stored locally in a local database. WikiTraccs does take care of checking that those are synchronized. And now what you can do here is you can specify Confluence groups. And I have one prepared. It's the Space Migration Users group. There are 3 users in there. So it's Adele, Megan, and the system account. Let's use that. And then you can also use a fallback account for users without Confluence emails. And this is especially useful for those accounts that have no email address set. So sometimes you have like 1,000 system accounts or whatever, and then you would like to, for those, to set the same Entra ID account here. And you can do that as well by specifying a fallback account here. So let's quickly just delete everything from here. Let's pretend this doesn't exist. Okay, perfect. And now going back here, let's specify WikiTraccs at Microsoft.com. So this shall be our fallback account. Perfect, works. Also fill in missing emails for users already stored. Okay. And yeah, then hit OK. And now my group contains 3 users. So this will probably be higher for your case. Some status information, and it also says that there was 1 email less Confluence account where the fallback has been used. So let's quickly look at this list again, refresh. So SharePoint is not very responsive today. So I'm recording that on a Sunday. Maybe SharePoint has a day off. Come on. Oh, SharePoint. Okay, so this looks better. And this is the expected result. You have 3 accounts because those are from the user group I entered. There was the auto mapping happening for Adele. That is good. Also, the fallback account was used for this account without an email, but this is still empty here for the Megan account because WikiTraccs tried to find some user in Entra ID that has this email address, said this was not successful. And also the fallback was not applied here because this email address field was not empty. So the fallback is only applied to empty email addresses. And this would be manual work. So you have to somehow figure out how to handle those users that don't automap to Entra ID. You could just leave it as that. And then when migrating pages, those where the Megan account was editing or creating pages, you will get the migration user account as author or editor on the SharePoint side, or you either manually or using some script, for example, PowerShell with PNP PowerShell, you can just apply your own mapping here. Yep, and that's it for today.